Hey, no, keep it out, set!
Before the war, her popularity was at rock bottom. Victory in the Falklands ensured the survival of Margaret Thatcher's government.
The Falklands saved her. The Falklands gave her a new lease of life to implement the policies on which she had embarked, which were not yet producing results. In effect, she gambled all on the Falklands, and she won decisively. And that, of course, not only greatly bolstered her standing within the Tory party, bolstered her standing in the country, and it greatly enhanced her reputation internationally.
The Falklands War set her up politically to fight the final battle for the soul of the British economy. The impact would be worldwide. In 1945, Attlee's Labour government had nationalised the commanding heights of the economy, bringing core industries into state ownership. For Thatcherites, these state industries were now the primary target.
A whole lot of people who were left of centre thought nationalisation was Britain's great gift to the world. And one of my phrases at the time was that having exported the disaster of nationalisation to the world, Britain should offer them the antidote. It was the decent thing to do, to say, we're very sorry, it didn't work.
So the whole efficiency of nationalised industries was running down. Why should they be efficient? They had access to the treasury purse.
Thatcher wanted to end their dependence on government subsidies and submit them to the discipline of the marketplace.
The nationalised industries fell to pieces. They lost huge sums of money. They put the prices up massively and still weren't able to make a profit. They were bleeding the nation dry, the taxpayer dry, and they weren't doing a good job for their customers.
The coal mines and the miners' union became Thatcher's biggest challenge.
The coal miners represented the last bastion of the socialist mindset in the UK. One of the most singularly important economic/political events in the world economic system was Margaret Thatcher's government's confrontation with the coal miners.
We were quite clear, uneconomic pits must close. You could not go on pouring money into uneconomic pits, it was taxpayers' money.
If you look at our coal industry, the coal is very deep in the earth. It is hugely expensive to get out.
75% of Britain's coal mines were losing money. It took government subsidies of $3 billion a year to keep them going. But these statistics were seen as irrelevant by men like Ken Capstick, one of the radical socialists who led the miners' union.
What they would say was that in America, for instance, coal produced at the pithead was cheaper than coal produced at the pithead here.
The union leaders argued that the government subsidies were money well spent if they kept 180,000 miners at work and able to feed their families.
Miners used to say, and I can remember them saying it, while ever I've got these, I'll always have a job.
It was an historic grudge match. Both sides knew the miners had brought down Ted Heath's Conservative government 10 years earlier. The fiery Marxist who led the National Union of Miners said no mine should be closed until the coal ran out.
To declare official, in accordance with Rule 41, the strike action.
The issue before our members is very clear. They either accept the policies of the coal board and the government, which will result in the loss of 70,000 jobs, or alternatively they stand on their feet like men, they fight, defend their jobs, defend their pits and defend their dignity.
The strike was an epic clash of values, which symbolized the wider battle of ideas. Socialist against capitalist, free market against state ownership. And it was a question of power. Who ruled Britain? Illegal mass picketing outside working mines led to violent clashes with the police.
It was the next thing to a war. We were faced with an enemy, and that enemy was out to destroy our livelihoods, out to destroy our pits, out to destroy our communities and what our communities stood for. Miners and their families had a set of values that I don't think Margaret Thatcher could understand. Values of socialism and Christianity. The two things went hand in hand in many ways.
For more than a year, the miners held out, until internal rifts and the desire of many to return to work brought the walkout to an end.
And then, suddenly, it collapsed, the strike. And the most powerful union, with the most militant leader, had failed.
Britain has changed. Today, less than 3,000 work in the mines.
I feel devastated by what I see. Grimethorpe had considerable reserves of coal when it was closed. Plenty of work for those miners to continue to do, to keep their families. You can see the wastelands. You can see the social deprivation that it caused. The children that are coming along, no prospects, no future. People despairing because they can't find employment, the dignity that employment brings. It's the market forces gone mad.
The political consequences of the failure of the strike were incalculable.
The coal mining strike of the early 1980s was a tragedy for so many of the mining families that were involved in it.
Perhaps the greatest political impact was on the Labour Party that had all along opposed Thatcher's free market policies.
I came into politics as someone who lived in an area which was an old mining community. The problem for the left in the past was they equated the public interest with public ownership and public regulation, and therefore they assumed that markets were not therefore in the public interest. What we have had to explain both to ourselves and to the country, and now I believe it's possible to explain this to the rest of the world as well, is that markets are in the public interest.
One of the most important things that the government of Margaret Thatcher does is invent this thing called privatization. That is taking these state-owned companies, these nationalized industries, and selling shares to the public.
One by one, the Thatcher government put the commanding heights of the British economy up for sale. Electricity, telephones, oil, gas, coal, steel, trains and planes, even water. Before long, 2/3 of the state-owned industries were removed from government control and sold off into the private sector. Who should control the commanding heights? Governments or markets? In Britain, that battle was over.
What Margaret Thatcher did in Britain and the principles that she introduced were imitated worldwide. Asia, Latin America, even in Africa, and to some degree in the Middle East.
The tide had surely swung. The thinkers that had kept alive the ideas of markets did play their role at that moment.
In his lifetime, Hayek saw fascism rise and fall, communism come and go, and the end of his years in the intellectual wilderness.
He was a man who had intellectually changed the world without ever really leaving the university. It was the power of his books, the power of his ideas, as then captured by Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher, that had changed things.
You had Reagan and Thatcher at the same time, two what I call idea politicians. They had ideas, they were convinced they were the right ideas, and they put them into effect.
The coincidence of Thatcher and Reagan having been in office at the same time was enormously important for the public acceptance worldwide of a different approach to economic and monetary policy.
The old debates were about what the role of the market was, what was the role of the state. I think it's now generally appreciated that it's the market that harnesses people's initiative best. And the real focus in progressive thinking now is not how to oppose and suppress market forces, but how to use market forces to achieve progressive objectives.
If you look at the whole of the 20th century, there's been a huge cycle. Less government was the orthodoxy at the beginning of the 20th century. More government clearly was the orthodoxy for the middle part of the 20th century. And now the later part, going into the new millennium, we're back to where we were practically at the start of the century. And you have to give folks like Hayek and Friedman, and then later Reagan and Thatcher, their due for pushing all of this along.
I remember the foreign minister and finance minister from another country saying to me, "You're the first prime minister who's ever tried to roll back the frontiers of socialism. We want to know what's going to happen, because if you succeed, others will follow."
Within 10 years, governments everywhere would retreat from the commanding heights of their economies. In the battle of ideas, the pendulum had swung from government to market, from Keynes to Hayek. Only time would tell what people would ask of their governments in the event of a new recession, or a depression, or a war.
Next time on Commanding Heights, throughout the 90s,
How do you guys like this documentary? Are you guys going to give me a silence again? So how do you guys like it? You guys, watch it at home too, right? To write that paper. So what do you think? Did you feel like you learned something? Okay. And the reason I want you to write is when you write, you really get more familiar with, what you have learned. You have to watch from this video, If I don't ask you to write, you just watch it, you probably gonna forgot, 50% of it. By watching it over and again and think about how to write it, and really, strengthen your knowledge you learned from this. Okay. So, I'm going to ask each one of you tell me one thing, just one thing, that you learned. You learned many things. This is almost, 2.5 hour documentary. Just one small thing you learned from everyone. Okay? So who wants to start? You want to start? Okay.
I learned that stagflation was unemployment and inflation combined.
Good. Okay.
I learned that India was used as a model for most other countries as an economic standpoint.
Great.
To start off.
Mm-hmm.
I learned about the Keynesian theory and Hayek's theory and the differences between them.
Okay, great.
I learned that Margaret Thatcher and Maggie started parted ways with the Keynesian type of governments. He started moving more to the height.
Learned that Reagan and Thatcher's ideas were kind of similar.
Okay, good. Okay. Other ideas.
I learned that Friedrich Hayek and John Maynard, I mean not Maynard, but the other guy
John
was
Maynard Keynes.
Yeah, they based economics, both economies, free market and.
Which one is on for free market?
Hayek.
Hayek and free market. Great. Thank you. So what do you learn?
Now, it kind of confused me when they said the price of, when you went shopping, you had a basket full of paper, and the beer was 1 billion marks. How do you
Yeah.
get that part?
Well, when did that happen? Anybody? How could remember when did that happen and in which country?
That was Germany, the hyperinflation.
What does that mean?
Well,
1
somebody
billion
want to
marks?
explain? Somebody want to explain that to her? I mean, somebody else who has not spoken.
Well,
Louder.
after everything that they did, they had so many regulations and laws and they had to pay so many reparations that they started printing money just so that people could spend money. But when you print money, money loses its value. So the more money you print, the more money everything costs, and it went to 100 million marks for something that cost 20 something marks before that. I don't remember exactly the numbers.
Okay, so anybody want to strengthen that? Explain a little bit more for her? Did you?
Yeah, I kind of.
Anybody want to touch on that again? Okay, basically, Germany was in a serious recession, depression. It's like a depression, and the goods were in shortage. So that's why the inflation is extremely high. Like a pair of shoes in let's say it's $50 and the normal circumstance now cost $5,000. So what happened? You're going to take out all the money from the bank to buy just a pair of shoes or buy a bag of rice. So what happened there is wipe out all the saving of the middle class during that period. So people just went poor and overnight. Okay, so what did you learn?
I learned that people agreed with Keynesian in the beginning, but then towards the end they started agreeing with Hayek's.
Yeah.
I learned that in the 1920s the stock market crashed and half of the banks closed and it left 3 million people unemployed.
Okay, good. Are you? Oh, you have said it already.
They were struggling with money. They used cognac and cigarettes for transactions.
Okay.
I learned it took a long time for people to warm up to Friedrich Hayek's ideas and everything he was trying to teach.
Yes, okay, good.
I have to watch the videos.
You did not watch it?
No, I told you I wasn't.
Oh, you didn't know the homework? Oh, okay. So you have to watch it again. So watch it again, then turn in on Wednesday. So I asked everybody to write a 1 page what they learned from documentary. It's called The Common Tide and you got it? Okay, who else has now spoken?
If I remember correctly, I couldn't, it went so fast, but something about the Reaganomics after Ronald Reagan, something, the term about the deregulating and the modest tax rates and.
That's right, that's Reaganomics. That's right, okay.
That a lot of Ronald Reagan and Thatcher's ideas and theories are kind of the basics of Hayek's ideas. Their ideas is similar to his ideas.
Okay, they implement.
Yeah, implement.
Okay, good. So have you guys done the homework? If you done it, I want you to turn in. And in this class, you will notice I don't impose any view, any my personal view on you, okay? And I don't want this video, this documentary to impose any view on you. Either, either free market or with big government, which one is good, which one is bad. That's not the point of watching this. Because we learned about the opportunity cost, right? There's advantage and disadvantage in both ideas. One idea probably fits in a certain area for certain country. The other idea probably is better in other, the other idea may be better for the other time and for different other countries. So really what I wanted to get is to understand the difference of these two ideas and what do they do for the economy of the different countries. Okay, so the documentary of course has a little bit has a little bit of view in there, right? At the end you can tell, this, but the point of this this assignment or the point of watching this is not imposing anything on you. Huh?
I lost it.
Okay. Okay, please put your phone on vibrate or okay, so I want to give you guys a choice. Okay, so we're going to have a quiz, and I'm going to go over what's going to be on the quiz and today. So we'll have, basically 30 minutes, and I think I can go over everything. We still probably can finish early. So you can either have the quiz on Wednesday or on Friday. It's up to you. Friday. Who wants to, let's take a vote. Who wants to be on Wednesday? Raise your hand. Well, we'll have class on both days.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Alright, so we have it on Friday. We're gonna learn stuff on Wednesday. Is that gonna be on the quiz?
No. Wednesday from next class, we're gonna start supply and demand. That will not be on quiz.
Just take it Wednesday.
Okay, so who wants to take the quiz on Wednesday? Raise your hand.
I don't care.
It don't matter.
Okay, I'm gonna count. Keep your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. And who wants to be on Friday? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. There's some people who did not raise your hand, so you don't want to quiz in either day?
It don't matter.
It doesn't matter. Okay, so I guess we're gonna have it on Wednesday because more people want it on Wednesday. Okay. If I were you, I would prefer on Wednesday when it's fresh. I'm gonna go over stuff is still fresh. Okay, so you should expect me testing you on the following concept from chapter 1. And not all of them. I mean, pick one or the other. Or maybe pick two. Okay, so very first thing, opportunity cost. Okay, so what is opportunity cost? What's the definition of opportunity cost? I'm gonna give you multiple choice questions, ask you, to pick the correct definition of the opportunity cost. Okay. And the next concept would be sunk cost. And I expect you to give me an example of what is sunk cost. Okay, what is the meaning of sunk cost?
It's like money that you spent that you can't get back no matter what you do in the future.
That's right. It's a cost that has occurred at the very beginning and is not going to be associated with future action. So no matter what you do in the future, that cost cannot be avoided. Okay, that's sunk cost. Okay, the example, you have to think about the examples you may give, in quiz. And then we'll learn the marginal cost and marginal benefit. What is the meaning of marginal, the word marginal? Additional, right? Okay. Marginal cost means, additional cost due to that action, okay? What the additional cost that is arising from that action. And what is additional marginal benefit is additional benefit due to that action. How about marginalism? Marginalism. What is marginalism?
Comparison between marginal cost and marginal benefit.
It's a comparison. So when do we realize the optimal decision? When is the optimal decision is realized?
Impossible.
When marginal cost equal to marginal benefit, okay? When there's two things equal to each other, then we reach the optimal decision. Okay. All right. Another concept that we learn is different methodologies and different views in economics. One is microeconomics, the other one is macroeconomics. And what is, if I say is want to study the unemployment in healthcare industry, that is micro or macro? Micro, right? It's micro. Okay. And if I want to study the national unemployment rate, that is considered as macro, right? Okay. So I may give you a study, particular study, and you have to identify, is it macro or micro? Okay. All right, so I think that's from chapter 1. That's all the most important concept in chapter 1, and you probably is going to see. And again, you don't really need to remember everything. You just need to understand all the concept. Okay, understand all the concept. Then let's talk about chapter 2. Chapter 2, and we learned two different models. What are the two different models we learned? One-person economy, right? Then we have two-people economy, okay? For the one-person economy, and I introduced you the PPF, okay? So first you have to understand the meaning of PPF. What is PPF? If I give you a space, ask you to write down the definition of the PPF. What is PPF?
Is it like what I can do on my own, like what I can or produce on my own? Like
it's good in your own words, but we want to make it informal, okay? But it's good. So PPF describes all the combinations of the goods or services a person or economy can produce when they use resources efficiently. So all those keywords have to be there. So PPF describes all the combinations of the goods and the services a person or economy is able to produce when we use resources efficiently. Now, can anybody say that again? See, anybody remember?
You say it one more time.
Okay, see one more time. Okay. PPF describes all the combinations of the goods or services a person or economy can produce when they use the resources efficiently. Anybody want to try to say it? You want to try it? Give it a try.
PPF is combination of all goods and services that a person or economy can produce if they use the resources efficiently.
Great. Okay. Right. So now you remember it. You don't have to go home to study that concept again. Okay, so for the PPF, we learned a few things. It has a negative slope or positive slope? Negative slope. Why it has negative slope? Because of opportunity cost, right? If you decide to produce more of one thing, you're going to have to give up the quantity on the other good. So always negative slope, and that is due to the opportunity cost. Okay, then we learned the two different shapes. I'm sorry, this is either this one, oh, this one, okay. I will have to change the marker. Okay. But either straight line or curve, right? Okay. When is the situation is going to be a straight line? If it's a straight line, what does it tell you? Fixed to what? Good. Opportunity cost, the trade-off between these two productions, the production of these two will remain the same. Okay? So if it's a straight line, that means the opportunity cost remain the same. Okay? If it's curved like that, what does it say? If it's curved, what does it mean?
The opportunity cost is changing.
Opportunity cost changes from one point to another point. And how does it change? We'll learn a law, and that law will be tested. Very good. Law of increasing opportunity cost. Law of increasing opportunity cost. Now I'm going to get a new marker. Okay, I'll be right back. Law of increasing opportunity cost. What does it mean, law of increasing opportunity cost? Law of increasing opportunity cost. Can you use your own words to describe the meaning of it? If I say this represent coconut, this is a fish, okay? And we're moving from point A to point B. As we're moving from point A to point B, what happened to the quantity of the fish? More or less. More, right? This is, let's say, XA. So you're going to have more fish, and so, but in order to get more fish, and you have to give up more coconuts, right? But at that point, A, at this point here, and there will be an opportunity cost, which represents a trade-off between fish and coconut. At the point B here, also there is this opportunity cost, represent a trade-off between fish and coconut. So what happens when you move from point A to point B? Do you guys know what I'm asking?
You gain fish and lose coconut?
So what happened to the opportunity cost when you move from point A to point B? Opportunity cost of producing fish. It's going to increase, right? Okay, because now you have more and more fish. The more fish you get, and when you want to get even more, the opportunity cost is going to increase. But if I ask you, okay, when we move from point A to point B, what happened to the opportunity cost of getting coconut? The answer is decrease. Okay? Because moving from point A to point B, the quantity on the coconut has decreases, right? Okay. So the law of increasing opportunity cost says that if you get more, then the opportunity cost of getting even more will be higher. And if this shape, and you know this is law of increasing opportunity cost. All right. Okay. And the next question I want to go over is so this concept is lies in the one-person economy. Then after that we talk about two-people economy. In two-people economy, I asked the question about the specialization and the trade, right? So those questions will also be on the quiz. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just randomly I'm going to come up with some numbers here, right? Actually, you guys have finished the homework, chapter 2, right? There's a homework about on the wristband and wristband or what? You guys do the homework? You guys do the homework? If you do the homework, you remember what I'm talking about. Wristband and what?
Something with pots.
Pot holders, right? Wristband and the pot holders. So basically, there's these two people, okay, Kristen and Anna. They produce this wristband and pot holders. You guys have done this question on my econ lab, right? And you have drawn PDF, right? Okay. So what they gave to you is there's a chart here. Kristen, Anna, and the output per hour. There is a wristband and a pot holder. Okay, so the number here is a 15, here is 12, this is 3, and this is 2. And do they say how many hours they have? Actually, this is more complicated. Okay, they have they can how many hours? Okay, I'm going to read the questions through, okay? Christian and Anna live in the beach town of Santa Monica. They own a small business in which they make wristbands and pot holders and sell them to people on the beach. As shown in the table, Christian can make 15 wristbands per hour, but only 3 pot holders. Anna is a bit slower, can make only 12 wristbands and 2 pot holders in an hour. Okay, first question. For Christian and for Anna, what is the opportunity cost of a pot holder? for both people, what is the opportunity cost of a pot holder? Okay. So cost of making a pot holder. Okay, so for Kristen, for her, she either make 15 or 3 pot holders. So what is the opportunity cost for her to make 1 pot holder?
5
5 wristbands, right? Okay. Does everyone know how to get that? No? Someone did not knock their head? Does everyone know? Does anyone need me to explain? No? Do you need me to explain? No? Okay. Okay, how about Anna? What is Anna's opportunity cost of making a pot holder?
6.
6 wristbands.
Is it 6?
Yeah.
6 wristbands, good. Okay. Now, if I ask you what is the opportunity cost of making a wristband for each person? What for the Christian? Anybody want to answer this question?
1/5.
1/5. It is inverse of whatever's the number here. Okay, so if this is a 5 wristband, this is going to be 1/5 of what? Okay. For the Anna, what is the opportunity cost of making a wristband?
1/6.
Okay, you guys get that? Okay, so this number here may be easy to see. Look, you know, this 5, 6, you know, is easy to see from this number. What if I change it? Just to see whether you really understand the concept. I'm going to say this is 6, and this is 5. Now, what is the opportunity cost for of making a pot holder for Christian?
2.
So how did you get that number earlier? And that's where you should get this number. You got that number really easily, really fast, right? How did you get that? The number was what? What was this? This is 3, right? And this 2. How did you get this? You got this 5, you got 6 right away, right? So how did you get this number? Tell me.
Divide pot holders into wristbands.
15 divided by 3, right? And how do you get this? 12 divided by 2. How did we get this? How do we get this? 1/5. 3 divided by 15 and 2 divided by 12, right? So now I'm changing this to 6 and changing to 5. The method should be the same, right? So what is this?
2.5.
$15 divided by 6, right? What is this?
2 and 2.
2.4? Okay. How about this?
102.5.
Right. Okay. So when we look for the opportunity cost of making a pot holder, And you have to use this number as the denominators. Okay, when we use a wristband, when we ask, what the opportunity cost of making a wristband, then you use this number as denominators. Now, is everybody clear? Okay, good. Okay, so we keep the original ones because those numbers are really. So this is 3, and this is 2, so this is 5, 6, 1/5, 1/6. Okay. Then the question is, which person has absolute advantage in the wristband production? Which person has absolute advantage in wristband production? I'm going to ask somebody here. You answer? What's your name? Terry. Okay. So which person has absolute advantage in the wristband production?
Kristen.
Kristen. Why? Because Kristen can make more, right? Okay. And which person has absolute advantage in the pot holder production? In the pot holder production, which person has absolute advantage? It's Kristen again because they can make 3 and then more than the other person. So when we look at the absolute advantage, we just see who makes more, right? Whoever makes more will have absolute advantage. So we know Kristen has an absolute advantage in both productions, okay? And now let's look at the comparative advantage. And which person has comparative advantage in the pot holder production? Which person has the comparative advantage in the pot holder production? How do we determine that? Compare the opportunity cost of making the pot holder, right? Do we have it? We have the opportunity cost making the pot holder. So who has comparative advantage in the pot holder production? What do you think?
Kristen, because she can't make as many wristbands, or Anna, because she can't make as many wristbands and as Kristen.
Because Christian opportunity cost is lower. Christian's opportunity cost of making a pot holder is lower than Anna, so Christian has a comparative advantage in the pot holder production. Okay. Now, who has comparative advantage in the wristband production? In the wristband production. He is copying very diligently. Which person has comparative advantage in the wristband production? Anna, right? Because Anna's opportunity cost is small. So remember this. If one person has comparative advantage in one production, the other person must have comparative advantage in the other production. Okay? So one person cannot have comparative advantage in both productions. Okay. Alright, so now we can go to the question of specialization. You have a question?
Yeah, with the comparative, you remember when we did the Colleen and Tom example?
Uh-huh.
So Colleen had absolute.
Colleen has an absolute advantage in both productions, yes.
And then she had comparative.
That's right, she had comparative advantage in one production too.
So comparative is whoever has less?
No, comparative advantage intuitively means the expertise. Who has expertise in which production? So who use less resources to produce one good, you know? So look at this. Christian use resources which is equivalent to making 5 wristbands to make one pot holder. And for Anna has to use the resources that's equivalent to making 6 wristbands in order to make a pot holder. So obviously Christian use less resources. When someone uses less resources making the same amount of goods, then that person has more expertise. So we see this person has comparative advantage in making this. So that's what comparative advantage is. Always you compare one person or one economy with the other. So whether this one person, one economy has more expertise, which means utilizing less resources in the production. That's the meaning of comparative advantage. Okay. All right. So now we're going to determine the specialization, right? Okay. So we have this wristband, and we have pot holders, and we have Kristen and Anna. Do you guys remember how did I do this? We have 4 advantages, 2 absolute and 2 comparative, and we're going to fill in those boxes, put all these 4 advantages into those boxes, right? Okay, where do I put absolute advantages in? Absolute. Where absolute advantage should go in?
Christian wristband.
It's here, right? And where the other absolute?
Holders Christian.
Is right? Okay. Now we have 2 comparative advantage. Okay. Now where's one go in?
And a wristband.
Huh?
And a wristbands.
And
Wristbands.
wristband. And wristband. Comparative. Okay. Then where the other comparative go?
Christian pot holders.
Okay, right? Okay, so now we're clear which production has which advantage. So what does this chart tell us? There's one production has no advantage. What is that?
And a pot holders.
And a pot holder, right? So what should Anna do? That will be the question I will ask you in the quiz. What should Anna do?
Make wristbands.
Only make wristband. How many wristband she will make? 12, right? We spend all the resources on wristband, she will make 12. And how many pot holders? 0. Okay, so that's what specialization tells you. So Anne's going to have 12, and the other person and the pot holders will 0. And now we want to assume that both goods has to be equal, the same amount at the end. The total goods will be the same. You guys know what I'm talking about? Remember in the class I mentioned that, so this is the specialization. Okay, so we know Anna gonna make 12 wristband and 0 pot holders, okay? And Christian, we do not know, right? We do not know, but we want the end, these 2 numbers, the sum of these 2 goods will be the same, right? Remember that's what we did? Guess nobody remembers that? Okay, so how did we come up with Colleen making has 9 coconuts, right? Or 9 coconut, 1 fish. How did we come up with 9 coconut, 1 fish? Because with that number, then total amount of coconuts and equal to total amount of fish those people, produce. That's how we come up with 9 and 1. Okay, so what I want you to do is, you go ahead, go home and figure this out. Okay, what should a Christian do in order to make this the sum of this goods equal? For example, one option would be what? If Christian make 0 wristband, totally is going to make 3 pot holders, right? That would not be the same, right? Let's actually it's never going to be the same. Because the maximum amount of number of the policyholder will be 3. So in this case, you will never find a way that will make these two numbers the same. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Okay, so for this one, we will not have the situation we have in the Colin and Tom. Okay. Okay, but one more thing I want to mention here is for the Colin and Tom example, we use one class to talk about the trading, right? Whole class. And I want you to go over that note and remember to know how did we determine the range of the trade price. Okay, basically the price of trade can lie in a range. This range has an upper limit and has a lower limit. How did we determine the upper and lower limit? We look at the slope of the PPF. And that slope will be the upper limit and the lower limit of this price of trade. As long as the price of trade falls into that range, then the trade will happen. Okay? All right, so we learn how to put it on Wednesday. Utilize the tutor. We have tutor too, and the tutor hour is, I can show you, it's just right outside there. I can show you the hour. Or you can ask me questions, anything else.